I've worked in social services since 1969, and so my memory is quite a long one too. And nobody could have imagined in 1981 what our domiciliary care system would look like today, with 14,000 private providers in England and Wales, and now today you're discovering that you'll be paying your own way. When we were in 1981, we had a very public service oriented model, the NHS and the council, that was pretty well it. And then this strange doctor appeared on the scene. And Roy was one of the people. It's very rare that you get a chance to go back to the foundation of something and say, and what was it like? What was it like when you began? But we have. Roy was one of the first culprits of Prama. And so what I'd like to ask you, Roy, is if you'd be kind enough to tell us how you started this, and probably a couple of examples of what you did at the beginning.
Right, thank you. Scary, this, isn't it? Start by with Chris Moran. Chris Moran was a friend, a consultant rheumatologist, a lovely Christian who worshipped at St John's in Wimborne. And towards the end of 1981, during the autumn of 1981, Chris began to share with local Christians here in Wimborne his experience from his work and his realisation that in our local communities, where there was absolutely no community care, as Nick says, that's almost impossible to realise these days, but there was no community care. People, Chris said, were hanging on by their fingernails in the local community and needing the help of others to survive. And he began to share with local Christians here in Wimborne his belief that first and foremost the church, local Christians should respond to that need, because that's what Jesus told us to do, that's what Scripture tells us to do, love thy neighbour. So Chris shared this, and one of the meetings he arranged I went to, and towards the end of it Chris said something along the lines of, I know this needs to happen, but I don't know how to make it happen. And as he said those words, I hope you'll understand what I mean, I was hit by what I believe was a God-given conviction that God wanted me to help Chris make this happen. So on the 1st of January 1982, I gave Dorset County Council, for whom I was working in personnel management and training, 3 months' notice in order to free myself to join Chris in this task. So we worked together. There was myself and Chris and a fantastic board of trustees, and we began to establish Prama from scratch on the 1st of April, which some people thought was a highly appropriate date, 1982. And what we began to establish was truly almost unique in the UK at that time. And for that reason, my initial role was to seek to integrate the work we were establishing with those already working in the area, the statutory services. So I spent endless hours in meetings with the health authority, GPs, social services staff, to make sure we were working together and everybody understood our respective roles. Just to digress for a minute, we were public enemy number 1 at that time to the people who were then called district nurses, because they thought we were going to charge in and take over their role. And I was asked to attend a meeting with the chief district nurse, and I shared with her at the end of that meeting that in effect, what we were seeking to do was to take on and carry out the role of a caring relative. We would not be nursing, we would be caring as a caring relative would be expected to care. And immediately I said that, her whole demeanour just changed. And she said to me, Roy, if I get every district nurse that can be spared on a mutually convenient date sometime in the near future, will you tell them what you've just told me? So I said, yes, let's do it. And so one day, a few weeks later, we had the lecture theatre at Bournemouth Hospital, and dozens, if not hundreds, of district nurses came in, all looking for blood, I think. But when they understood what I just shared with you, they immediately realised that what we were seeking to establish was desperately needed. And within probably just a few months, 60% of our referrals were coming from district nurses. And as Prama began to get established beyond Wimborne, which was our original vision, we needed further help as a team, and we had 7 highly trained and highly qualified and experienced nurses who coordinated the work as it spread from Wimborne throughout the whole of East Dorset. What did we do? I'll give you just 3 examples of some early cases. Is that all right? William and Jessie were in their 90s, and they were the first people that Prama helped. They lived in a house probably no more than 100 yards away from St John's Church, Wimborne. They were a lovely couple. They could manage all that they needed to manage, apart from some of the ordinary daily tasks of life which they couldn't. Something as simple as hanging the washing on the clothesline, they couldn't do it. And so we went in and we supported them, and they were able to continue to live in the community for many, many more years. On the other end, very early on in Prama, we helped a young girl called Michelle. Michelle was 16 and she lived in Poole. She was a pupil at Parkston Grammar School. Excuse me. She just finished her GCE, I think it was then, GCE O-levels, and went in during the summer to Poole Hospital for a routine jaw operation. She came out paralysed from the waist down. And the school said that they were unable to support her with her personal needs during the day, and therefore, unless somebody could come to her rescue, she would not be allowed to return to school. Incredible in this day and age, isn't it? Well, I met the headmistress and we talked it through, and I said, look, if Prama provides that help every day of every term for the next 2 years, can Michelle continue with her studies? Yes, we did. She got her A-levels, went to university, qualified in law, and is now in a legal practice in London. And just one final example was a young man called Jonathan. Jonathan was really responsible for breaking Prama out of Wimborne. But Jonathan lived in Ferndown. And the phone call came from Stoke Mandeville Hospital, saying there was a young man who lived in Ferndown, who was attending university in St Andrews, Scotland, who'd had an enormous traffic accident and found himself paralysed from the neck down. They couldn't return him home because his only carer would be his mother, and she couldn't cope with him and his needs on her own. So, to cut a long story short, in discussion with Stoke Mandeville, we brought Jonathan home for his final stages of rehabilitation, and a couple of years later he returned to St Andrews and completed his degree study.
Excellent. We stand in these times on the shoulders of giants, really, and I think that I always read Chris Moran as a pragmatist. I joined social services here in the mid-80s. I heard about this doctor who was a nuisance and difficult and awkward, but he wanted a solution, and he was going to have a solution, and he clearly got a solution. The fact that God blessed him with the director of HR from the county council at the time, who had all of the contacts that would have been needed to make the way easier, is evidence really of God's work on our path, really. And now I'm one of the trustees with Susie and others who are here, and we carry and steward this precious gift that is Prama. We hold a place of reverence among every provider, and we attempt to do work of excellent quality based on our Christian faith, not on our profit motive or anything else. And everything we do is preluded with prayer. All trustees meetings, all committee meetings, consider why we're here and what we're doing. And I'm thrilled that you're all here today to celebrate 35 years. And the last question I wanted to ask Roy was, if Chris was with us today, what do you think he might think of us?
That's a question, isn't it? But I will give you an answer. Throughout the years that I headed the initial years of Prama, I corresponded regularly and met quite often a remarkable young woman with a worldwide ministry, and her name was Johnny Erickson Tardo. So I met Johnny, who showed a great deal of interest in the work of Prama, and we corresponded regularly. And in one of her letters, she wrote this: "Roy, to me, Prama is Christianity with its sleeves rolled up." And I think that's what Chris would still want it to be.
Thank you, Roy Potter.
My goodness!